Okay, welcome everybody. This is Ollie Buchanan, who has set up Humans of Edinburgh. He's very kindly come to talk to the Comms Network about Humans of Edinburgh and his success on Facebook as well. Is one of the things I think lots of people are interested in, because Scottish charities traditionally find Facebook almost impossible to crack. Humans of Edinburgh has picked up 44,960 Facebook likes as of this afternoon.
I was going to ask that.
Since it started. When did you start?
January 17th last year. So
just over a year, which is pretty impressive. We don't even have 1,000 at TFN. Of course. So hopefully I'll learn something from you. And he has 1,759 Instagram followers as well. Humans of Edinburgh.
I know that.
Yeah, he's really good on Instagram.
Yeah.
Humans of Edinburgh is based on the... Ollie will tell us a little bit more about this, but it's based on the Humans of New York concept. So if any of you... which has 12 million likes, which is quite impressive.
Yeah.
But Humans of Edinburgh, 44,960, is about 10% of the population of Edinburgh, which is quite impressive.
I was thinking that today. It only clicked today that there. Yeah.
And just so that you don't think that he just stole an idea and it's as easy as that, I had a look at some other Humans of sites. Yeah. Humans of London has less than Ollie at 44,481. Humans of Melbourne has 55,000. Humans of Singapore has 67,000. Humans of Chicago has only 20,000. Humans of Germany has a pathetic 4,832. There are 26,000 likes for Humans of Bangladesh and 24,000 likes for Humans of Manchester. So I think you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm up there.
Yeah, exactly. Ollie is a student at Stirling University, and so tell us a little bit about Humans of Edinburgh and why you started that rather than Humans of Stirling, and what it's all about.
With Humans of Stirling, it was always like, my friends always used to say that to me about Humans of Stirling, but to me, because I grew up in Edinburgh, it was always like the sensible thing for me was to do it here, because Edinburgh's so beautiful as well, and Stirling's not so beautiful. So yeah, it was always just because of that. And I felt like Edinburgh, it'd been done in Edinburgh once, and like very like not that well, and I just felt like Edinburgh had to have it done well, like to give it justice to like the city almost.
So were you a fan of Humans of New York then? Is that what gave you the idea initially to do it?
I did it like when I followed Humans of New York for like 2 years before I did it, and then I started Humans of Edinburgh with no expectation at all. So I had like 500 followers, and then after I had that, it felt like just a hobby, and then it kept growing, and it just went on its own. Like I didn't really push it to be anything like Humans of New York. Like it was always just a hobby. It's basically like, the best way of putting it is just stopping people in the street, photographing them and asking them one question, and then the question goes as a caption to my photograph. So that it's not based on like who you ask or like who you approach or what type of person you approach. It literally is just like the first person you see. So there's nothing that you look for in somebody to photograph. It's just like if they're kind of walking slow and look like they're not too busy, that's the only reason that I would approach somebody.
Or do you ask if you could take their picture?
Like the first thing I always say is, can I take your photograph? And then I don't even mention that it's for a blog or like for a Facebook page, because that kind of puts people off if they know that it's going on the internet. So like if you like ease them into it, like, yeah, can I just take your photograph and ask you a couple of questions? And then if they say yes, it's like, I'll say like, oh, it's for my blog. I run Humans of Edinburgh. Yeah, and most people in Edinburgh kind of know what it is now, so it makes like my job a lot easier. Because I'm the nosiest person in the world, it's really like, it's hard for me to take a bad answer because I always try and keep pushing it. But most of the time it's not like I will ask a question and then it just kind of starts a conversation, so it's more just like a small quote out of like a big conversation rather than like a question and then an answer.
Do you have a schedule? Do you try to post,
Like ideally it would be one a day, and then like for a while, at the end of last year we were doing one a day, and we did one a day for 4 months, and that was when I had another photographer working for me, my friend David, but he's moved to Melbourne just now, so he's kind of left me in it. But like one a day is perfect. Like to get any sort of like audience that comes back every day, you kind of have to spam it, like you have to like force it onto like timelines and into faces, or like somebody else will just do it and then you're forgotten about.
So one a day, if you live in Stirling though, that's quite challenging. Do you come to Edinburgh and do like half a dozen?
Yeah, if I come to Edinburgh for the way that I do it is 6 hours, and then in 6 hours I should get 10 photos, and then. But it's not actually like as many as people think. Like it does take a long time to like find photos and then speak to people as well.
And do you discard them to any, or do you use them all?
I've got a folder on my computer. This is really awful as well. I've got a folder on my computer of ones that I haven't used, and I kind of use them in emergencies. So like ones that I know that aren't as good, but yeah. So they all will get used at some point.
Yeah, I know from having done vox pops in the street that people don't want to stop. They think you're going to sell them something.
Yeah.
Maybe if you've got a camera, that helps.
I think like the fact, this is awful as well, but the fact that I don't look like I'm doing a job, that I kind of look homeless, that like, there's my beard and stuff. They don't really, like they're more curious as to why somebody like me is approaching them.
So in terms of, you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram. Are you on other social media platforms?
We use Twitter, but Twitter's like, Facebook is obviously like, our favourite one to use, because for like photo sharing, Twitter doesn't really allow it. Like Twitter doesn't allow you to be viewed as much as Facebook does, because Facebook's like, their algorithms push photos to the top of timelines, whereas like with Twitter, it's just when it's tweeted that it gets seen. Whereas Facebook kind of like holds it at the top for a while if it's getting attention.
Yeah. So
Facebook definitely does a lot better than the other ones.
And have you noticed any trends in terms of your popularity on Facebook? So, like you were saying, obviously, the more frequently you post, the more likes you get. Have you noticed any other trends?
One of the weird trends for me that I did by accident was that if you post something on Facebook at like 2 a.m, the automatic like assumption is that it's not going to do well. But if you post it at 2 a.m, you get like all these people that are still up too late, and then people when they get up in the morning for work, because Facebook feeds from like 2 a.m. to like 8 a.m, they're empty. So if you post something that gets like a wee bit of attention at 2 a.m, then Facebook will hold that for you until like 8 a.m. So when people are like getting up and going to work, it's always seen at that time as well.
That's quite a good tip.
Yeah, that's
we should start scheduling things to go live at 2 a.m.
Because people always say to me, like, why do you post photos of squirrels at 2 a.m? And then it's like, because people who wake up for work the next morning, like, they love that, like, that is still there. My favourite photo ever was of an old man, though.
Oh, was it? Well, I was going to come to that, because I think it's one of the ones up here, that your favourite photo, isn't it? So tell us maybe a bit about it.
Yeah, that guy is the coolest guy I've ever met in my whole life. He when I approached him, he was really awkward and like why are you taking a photo of me? Like what are you doing? Like on some like thinking I was really weird. And then I sat down and he just like really opened up to me and he was talking to me about art and like the museum and stuff like that. I think he was from Leeds and he was up for the weekend. But yeah, he was just like look at him, like he looks like an old man model, like he's so cool. But yeah, that was definitely my favourite one.
And are there a few others, any others that stick out?
There's one of the boy, I don't know I think I saw it up there earlier, like he's from Pakistan and it was in front of a merry-go-round and it was kind of like first world problems, was like how he was standing in front of a merry-go-round, but then the topic that he talked about was the bombings in Pakistan, which happened at the end of last year. And that was one of my favourite ones, because it was like he's standing in Edinburgh in the Christmas market, like one of the happiest places. And what he talked to me about was like so like deep and dark. Yeah, that was one of my favourite ones to look at as well. It was a really cool photo.
And what about themes? You know, do you talk to people about Christmas or Valentine's Day or the referendum or any of these things, or do you just leave it?
Yeah, the referendum one, for me, that was horrific. That was the worst like month of Humans of Edinburgh for me, because everybody was talking about it and everybody had like such a like big opinion about it. Like nobody was neutral in that. So whenever I posted like one where somebody was pro-independence, it was always like the worst backlash ever. Like I got to the point where I wasn't even doing them, because like either way, like because it was split so like tight, it was like either way I'm going to get so much hate for this comment from either camp. Yeah. And
so have you learned anything about that in relation to the general election?
More so like it does. I think if you do it in a way that people will find interesting, like if it's not too political and if it's not too like boring almost, then people will relate to it. So it's like kind of trying to keep it like light-hearted as well as like still like informative, which is quite hard because people kind of go off on like tangents about politics. So it's hard to like get one quote out of like a pro-independence comment.
So the poster's really cool. It was up. It's one of the slides. Did you design that yourself?
No, a follower from the page. I put up a status asking for a graphic designer, and this girl Laura messaged me, and she's literally the best like artist person ever. Like the designs, she has I have them both here, but the 2 designs that she gave me are incredible. Like I love them so much.
And so did she do this just because she's a fan? She did this for free?
She did it, she's getting a cut of whatever we make, but mainly she did it just because something to do, like she enjoyed it, like she loves doing things like that. She's at uni as well, so like it's not her actual job, I think she just does it for fun.
So we all work for charities, and in the charity sector we're always being encouraged to be more entrepreneurial. Do you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur, Ollie?
I don't know. Like, with some things that I've done and things that I'm trying to do, probably could say it, but I think I just do things that are, like, fun, and then that kind of comes with it. I don't know. I think, like, with charity, it's, like, because the charity stuff that I've done with homelessness, it's never been in a businessy way. Like, I've always viewed it as, like, kind of in, like, a kind of hustling way. Like, if you get this amount of money, this is what you can do with it. Rather than like a business, I don't know. Not really in an entrepreneur way, it was more just like a helping way with that side of it.
Okay, and so best experience and worst, before we get everybody else, best experience and worst experience?
On Humans of Edinburgh? Yeah. I'll go with worst first because it's the funniest. So there were these 2 girls, I've told this story so many times and I'm still not bored of it because it's literally hilarious. There were these 2 girls and like, they were sitting with like massive skateboards, like bigger than any skateboard I'd seen before, and they were like covered in blankets, and they genuinely looked like if Barbie was homeless. Like these 2 girls, like the amount of blankets and stuff. So I went up to them and I like realised that they were Russian, and it was at the time where the stuff about the gay, like all the anti like homophobia stuff in Russia had happened. So I still don't know to this day why I decided to ask this, but I said to them, what do you think of gay people? And this girl literally looked like she'd been like she looked like she had like a fire in her, and she just went mental at me, and she started like saying all this like horrible stuff, and then she spat on me, and then I put the photo up and it went viral, so I think I got that. But yeah, that was the worst experience. Getting spat on by like a homophobic Russian girl. Best experience, definitely like when we did at the end of last year, we did loads of like, we went to Domino's and showed them how many followers we had, and they gave us free pizza for homeless people, and it was like having like big groups of homeless people just standing around eating pizza was like the coolest thing for me.
So how was that linked to Humans of Edinburgh? Sorry.
What's that? Sorry.
How was that linked to Humans of Edinburgh?
Because they were like the pizzas, like they were the homeless people that I was giving to them the pizzas to were in my photos.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Like there's a couple on there, like Carl, the guy that I did a fundraiser for. So, but yeah, because I know all the homeless people that I photographed, and I try and like stick with the same group because I know them. But yeah, just being able to do things like that, like feed homeless people like free pizza just because I've got a number on a screen, was probably the coolest bit.
So is homelessness one of the issues that motivates you then?
Yeah, I think like, because growing up in Edinburgh you see it everywhere, like I think it's one of the like most common things you see in town is like people begging, and I don't know, I just didn't like ignoring it. Like I liked photographing them because homeless people, like from my experience, the responses that I've been given are so like, they're kind of just unguarded because they're in a position in their lives where they don't have anything to lose, so they're so honest with you. And yeah, it definitely is the thing that I feel most like strongly about with helping through Humans of Edinburgh.
And have you considered taking using video for Humans of Edinburgh, or changing the format a little bit?
I think, like most of my friends that do photography, they're all filmmakers, so it always has been something at the back of my mind. It's like something that I'd like to do one day, but I just think like the idea of approaching somebody with like a microphone and a camera and recording them, it's so impersonal to what I'm actually doing that I don't think it would fit at all. I think maybe like more in-depth interviews that are planned rather than like approaching them on the street, that would maybe work. Yeah. We made a video at Christmas time though. Like we made a video on the homeless stuff that we did, and that went down quite well.
So explain a little bit more about that.
So we had a camera girl that followed us around like when we were doing the pizza handouts, and then we had like, because we'd raised money through the page, so we'd like bought rucksacks and filled them with stuff, so we made a video of pretty much us handing out every rucksack. And then I think that opened a lot of people's eyes, because we did it on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, so like we made a point to do it on days that like should have been spent doing more selfish things maybe. But yeah, the video went down really well. I've not touched video content since then though. With promoted posts, I think I do it in quite a backwards way, in that if I see, it is something that I'm always quite touchy about, but if I see that a post is doing well, then that's when I'd promote it, because Facebook don't, when you pay Facebook to promote your posts, they don't like take your post and put it like at the top of news feeds. What they do is they kind of have a way of watching how well it's doing and then mirroring that in what it promotes to. So if your photo goes out and it gets like 5,000 views, whatever you pay for through Facebook, like under £50, whatever you pay for, it'll only really match what it's already got. Like if it doubles it, or if it like adds on a quarter. But like for a post that's not doing well, it doesn't ever like grow it, because it's already kind of viewed as a bad post.
Yeah, we've found that with TFN with far fewer numbers, unfortunately. But yes, it's the posts that are already quite popular that do well when you promote them, rather than basically if a post is not doing well, more probably for our post than your post. If it's rubbish, it's rubbish. You know, promoting it's not really going to help.
Yeah, it's like you have to cleverly choose, and also what time you promote it as well. Is like if you leave your post on timelines for like 2 hours in which you don't promote it, then you're not doing any harm. Like the longer you leave it unpromoted, the better, because you're still getting like your organic reach, and then whenever you pay for it, that kind of takes away the organic reach. Yeah. And then it adds like the sponsored content.
Yeah. And do you have a budget for promoting posts?
For us, like, this is awful as well, but what it is like my friend David that I run the page with, he kind of views it as like a gamble. So like he'll message me and he'll go, "Oh, stick £12 on that photo." So it's not really like a proper budget, it's more just what photos are doing well, and it's like, yeah, stick a tenner on that one. So not a formal budget or anything like that. I owe David so much money from promoted posts. I'll pay him back one day. Just now we're doing, I don't know if obviously some of you will have heard of like the rucksack project. We're doing that in the next few months, so we're just going to keep the photos going as usual, but then we're going to do another like homeless fundraiser.
So the rucksack project is the homeless?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know much about it because there's a girl that's kind of handling that for me, but it's basically like getting the same as what I did at Christmas, like rucksacks for homeless people with stuff in them. But yeah, we're going to be doing that at the same time over the next.
So you fundraise for that rather than seek donations for things to go in the rucksacks?
Because like with my audience, because it's from all over the place, like not everybody's from Edinburgh, the donations are the ones that kind of do better. Like we had the coffee mill that's down that way, I think. We had at Christmas time, we had a Christmas tree in there that was for people to drop stuff off for the rucksacks. And literally one girl dropped off 3 bags, like she'd cleared out her wardrobe and it was full of like girls' shorts and stuff. And it was like a nice gesture, but like it's for us with like getting donations, it's never really worked that way. I think like people are more inclined to like give like £5 rather than like go out their way.
And how many rucksacks did you give out then?
Oh, in the end we had like 27, I think.
Wow, that's great.
And then overall it was like, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like £1,700 worth of stuff into like the 20, I think it was like 25-ish rucksacks. But
and how did the people who, when you gave them a rucksack, how did they respond?
Like, the funniest one for me was this old guy, and he was eating, I hadn't given him a pizza, he had a pizza from somewhere else, and I gave him the rucksack, and he opened it up and he took everything out of the rucksack, and then he handed me the rucksack back, and I was like, no, the rucksack is yours. So then he just put everything back in it. But yeah, people were kind of surprised that we were giving them that much, I think.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just so from the beginning, you just put one photo up. Did you promote that? Did you? I mean, I just want to know how you built up the number of likes that you've got. How that happened?
The way that if we were to view it as like a chart, it definitely does have big spikes in it, and that's because the photos that I've done, like my audience, I say, is built off of maybe like 20 photos that I've posted, and they're the ones that are the spikes because they're the ones that went viral. So it's like kind of just pushing the content, and then occasionally one will slip through and it'll do really well. So they're the ones that kind of keep us going, rather than like daily content. So
did it take you quite a long time to get to say 1,000 likes, or did you go quite fast to begin with, and then there was a lull? Or
I was on 1,000 in 4 days.
Wow!
But only,
wow!
Like literally,
how did you manage that?
It was only because it was really bad. Actually, I posted this photo of this homeless guy being really racist, and it was like talking about Romanians and stuff like that. And it was a really interesting quote, but it just sparked like massive debate.
Yeah.
Within like 2 days, I thought I'd peaked like really early. I thought it would just stay on that forever, like on like 1,000 likes.
And then after that, so obviously then, whether it was for sensationalist reasons or not, you had that 1,000 base quite quickly, which is something you can obviously build on, because I've noticed with Facebook, the more likes you get, the more you generate, obviously, because more people are engaging with your page, and then their friends are seeing it, and so on. So it's a bit of a snowball effect.
Yeah.
So did it go quite fast after that, or did you feel?
I think like within a month we were on about 2.1, between 2.1 and 2.5. So it did go quite fast, but like it wasn't the way like a lot of people have said to me about like the sensationalist posts. And I don't really view them as like sensationalist. I more view them as like amusing, like the controversy that comes with it. To me, it's just like a motivating thing, because it's like I kind of thrive off of getting that much of a reaction from people. Like whatever it's on, it's not really in like a oh, be racist for the camera. It's more just like, I can't remember what I asked him. It was like, what's being homeless like? Because it was my first homeless guy I'd ever done as well. So like, and then that came out. But I didn't post it consciously thinking like, oh, this is like really sensationalist and awful. It was more just interesting. And
do you do that now? Do you choose? When somebody gives you a quote like that, you're like, yes, this is going to be a winner.
I don't know, because I've seen so many photos that I thought would do incredible do average that I can't really tell anymore. Like it's more just like, it's to do with like the first like 5 minutes of posting it. If it does well in that 5 minutes, if it gets like even like 30 likes in 5 minutes, then I know it's going to do alright. But I put ones up that I've like saved for the end of the week and thought were amazing, and they've sat at like 200 likes, and it's broken my heart.
And why do you save them for the end of the week?
I like doing, because, I don't know, I like doing ones at weekends just because people are not as grumpy, I think. Yeah.
Do you find people engage more on Facebook at weekends?
I think, not really. I think it's just the same, because at weekends people have always got plans, so it's like, in the evenings on like a Sunday evening's always the best, because nobody's really doing anything then.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Ollie.
It was a pleasure.
Great. Thank you for coming.